Hey, how you guys doing? I just want to go over quickly a couple trades I took on Friday. I've been really lazy this week with recording and making videos, so apologies for that. But hopefully, gain something from these two trades I'm going to show you today. The first one I want to show you is a trade I took on Twilio on Friday, TWLO. This is the real learning trade of the two I'm going to show you. The other one you can learn stuff from, but this is the main one. So Twilio, I had no real thesis on it necessarily. It had been going down red the past couple of days, so I was looking forward to maybe break this consolidation range and continue down lower. So I was somewhat short biased on it, which is why on my first initial trade I went short on it. It had sold off in the morning, bounced back up to VWAP, and I was looking to take it short for this VWAP rejection. But I stopped myself out on it. It wasn't moving the way I hoped it would, and I covered it myself. I spooked myself out. It did reject the VWAP a little bit, but it wasn't too big of a move. So this was a fat nothing trade. This next trade over here is the real learning trade right here. I want to go over with you guys. So as you can see here, the thing to look on this trade is that after it did that VWAP rejection and came back down lower, it didn't go all the way back down. It made a higher low right here. So because this is the previous low, this is a higher low, right? So higher low means that the trend is probably going to be changing. So with that, I kept an eye on it, and as it kept grinding up higher from that higher low, it formed this nice trend line support pattern right here. So that was a good indication that I might want to take it long. So I kept my eye on it. And here is the key point I want you to take away from here. Oftentimes what happens in the stock when it breaks back up above a support resistance area or a trend line or VWAP or a moving average or whatnot, whatever your indicator of choice is, or that a major indicator that a lot of people use, in this case the VWAP I'm about to show you, this green line. Oftentimes what happens when a stock breaks back above that, what it'll do is it'll break hard. See these two big green candles, it broke fairly hard, right? But then what'll happen is that it'll pull back, it'll sell back off, right? So let me zoom in here so we get a better look at this. So that's exactly what it did here. It broke back up higher, two big green candles, and then immediately dumped back down. And so what happens in previous times, remember, I might buy the breakout, right? So I'd buy it here, whatever, and I'd go up and I'd be all happy, and then it'd pull back and I'd stop myself out and I'd be cursing, right? So something I've been trying to do is just, be a little bit more patient, especially with my entries, right? So in this case, I was trying to be patient with my entry. I was just waiting for confirmation of the breakout, right? It could have just exploded and continued on without me, but that happens sometimes and you don't want to chase. But what happens oftentimes, it'll break out above it and then it'll pull back. So it pulled back, and the key here is that it held, right? It went down lower, but it held these moving averages, the 9 and the 20, and this previous support resistance line I had drawn. It held, right? So it was just chopping here, and then it started to kind of go back up green, right? One candle, two candle, back up above VWAP with no issue, no major resistance or choppiness. And so that was indication to me that I was ready to continue its trend higher. So what I did is I bought anticipating the break of this previous candle high, and then it gave me confirmation of what my thesis was, right? It broke back up above that, and it started a nice trend higher. Now these covers of mine were too quick. That's my bad habit of covering too quickly, about being anxious about things going against me. And after I took these initial covers that were too early, I was cursing at myself. I knew that they were too soon. So with my next my next sells, not covers, my next sells, I was more patient, and I just took them at higher points. And then with this last part of my position, what I did is I just kept moving my stop higher. So this was one sell. Then I had my last little bit, and I just kept moving my stop higher. I'd have a stop there. It would go up higher. I'd move my stop higher. It would go up. I'd move my stop higher. And eventually it did pull back enough to stop me out. So I like that way of exiting positions. Obviously, take profits along the way as to whatever you feel comfortable with. But I really do like the idea of just having a stop and just keep moving it higher, and just waiting for the stock to give you a reason to exit. That's my expression. I keep telling people, wait for a reason to get out. So finally, when I had the stop, and it gave me a reason to get out. So that was my trade on Twilio that I was very happy with. So you really want to try to see if you notice this pattern over here I talked about, the breakout, pullback, and then continuation. Keep an eye on that. I think you'll see that pattern a lot. The next trade I want to show you is DE. Now, this is not a fancy trade at all. It's not anything special to look at. I didn't make a ton of money, but I want to show up because it was a trade I was particularly proud of, and it was just confirmation that I needed to have better discipline. So I'm going to show you what I'm talking about right here. So DE, it was a gap down stock on the day of earnings. So I was looking for it to go short. Let me just get everything focused here. So I was looking for it to go short, but what happened is in the morning it pushed higher, shorts covering, buy the dippers, what have you. So it was pushing up higher, right? But then it started to stall. It fell back here, went back up, and it was just grinding. It was wedging. Now, oftentimes, if I was paying attention, I wasn't paying attention to the stock anymore. I was looking at other things during this time, but it was forming my very favorite wedging pattern, right? This beautiful wedge, right? And looking forward to take the breakdown. So this would have been a good entry right here for this breakdown, but I wasn't watching the stock at the time. But I did see it when it did finally break, and then it started trending sideways again. So it's forming another, channel, wedge, whatever you want to call it, right? So I had a thesis that this was going to continue lower, that it was not going to continue higher. And so, and again, forget you see this stuff, because you don't see that this stuff is going to happen. When you're trading, you just see this, right? So seeing this and seeing that it was going, that it had already failed this move higher, that the momentum up had stopped, it had stalled out and it sold off. I had the thesis that it was going to take another leg lower. So I went short here. The key with this trade, though, is that I told myself, Robert, you got to give the room stock to wiggle. So I took smaller share size, and I had a legit stop. I put my stop above, not that high. I put my stop above these candle wick highs, like somewhere up there. So I had my stop there, and I gave the stock room to wiggle. And the other key point, because I'm a very anxious person when it comes to these stocks, I've yet to control my psychology fully, is that I set my stop, and then I forgot about it. I had the stock up on another chart, one of my smaller charts off to the side, but I stopped looking at it. I literally stopped looking at the chart. I told myself it's either going to stop me out or it's going to break down and give me the move I want. So it was up on another chart off to the side that I barely glance at every so often, but I literally forgot about the stock. And I'm glad I did, because it just kept chopping and grinding sideways for minutes and minutes and minutes. And I had the temptation to move my stop lower, but I told myself, no, you're either going to get stopped out fully or it's going to move in your favor. Thankfully, it did. It broke and it moved in my favor, and I took a cover here. Unfortunately, it started to just kind of consolidate again, but I was thinking maybe it was just going to consolidate and break another leg lower. It didn't. It started to go back up higher, and so I was looking for a VWAP rejection again for it to break down below VWAP, but it didn't. At this point, when I took my first cover, it's kind of my habit. I take a cover, I start taking profits, I'm going to move my stop lower to break even. So that's what I did here. I moved my stop lower to break even. It broke back up above VWAP. It did not reject off of VWAP yet, and it stopped me out. Even if I left my initial legit stop up there, I think this candle high would have gotten me. So, but that's it. I'm happy with the DE trade. It wasn't a big winner. I did get a good little flush down here on this partial I took there, but I'm just really happy that I was disciplined with having a legit stop and just not touching the stock. Because more often than not, what happens is I stop myself out, my nerves get the hold of me, and I stop myself out, and then the stock moves in the direction I was anticipating. So this is just an example of trusting yourself, right? Have a thesis, believe in it, get in, have a stop, and then wait for the stock to either to stop you out or become a winner and move in your direction. So I'm happy with this. I need to be more disciplined about getting in, having my stop, and then forgetting about it and let the stock do what it's going to do. Because oftentimes they wiggle and then you chop yourself out. So those are the two trades on Friday I want to share with you guys. The TWLO one especially is a good learning one. This one is just a sign of how discipline can work. So that's it. Hope you guys had a good week. Hopefully next week will be better about recording videos and uploading them. So I'll see you guys in the market on Tuesday. Thanks.